The psychology of why nice people hide their true selves. You're known as the nice one. The one who always says yes, who never causes drama, who puts everyone else's needs before your own. People love you for it. They come to you when they need support, when they want someone who won't judge them, when they need a favor they know you won't refuse. But here's what nobody sees. Behind that smile, behind that endless willingness to help, you're suffocating. You're carrying a weight that's getting heavier every day. You're living a life that feels increasingly foreign to who you actually are inside. The truth is, being the nice one isn't about kindness at all. It's about fear. And the psychology behind why genuinely caring people end up hiding their true selves is far darker and more complex than anyone wants to admit. Let us start with what really happens in the mind of someone who's built their entire identity around being nice. Every interaction becomes a calculation. Before you speak, you're already analyzing how your words might affect others, how they might be received, whether they might cause any discomfort. You've become a master at reading rooms, at sensing what people want to hear, and molding yourself into whatever version will keep everyone happy. But this isn't natural human behavior. Healthy people express themselves authentically and deal with consequences as they come. So why do nice people develop this exhausting pattern of constant self-monitoring and self-suppression? Answer usually lies in childhood. Most people who become chronic people-pleasers learned early that their authentic self wasn't safe to express. Maybe you grew up in a household where conflict was explosive and dangerous, so you learned that keeping the peace was a survival strategy. Maybe you had a parent who withdrew love when you didn't behave exactly as they wanted, teaching you that acceptance was conditional on performance. Or perhaps you were naturally sensitive. You discovered that the world felt overwhelming. When you expressed your true thoughts and feelings, you learned that it was easier to hide than to deal with the intensity of other people's reactions to your authenticity. Whatever the specific circumstances, somewhere along the way, you internalized a devastating belief that your real self is too much, too difficult, too problematic for others to handle. So you developed a nicer, more palatable version, one that never rocks the boat, never makes demands, never expresses inconvenient emotions. This adaptive strategy worked in childhood, but it's destroying you as an adult. Because what you've really done is teach yourself that your authentic thoughts, feelings, and needs don't matter. Every time you say "I'm fine" when you're not, every time you agree when you actually disagree, every time you prioritize someone else's comfort over your own truth, you're reinforcing the belief that the real you is unacceptable. The psychology behind this pattern is actually quite sophisticated. Your brain has learned to associate authenticity with danger, social rejection, conflict, disapproval, so it creates elaborate defense mechanisms to keep you safe. You become hypervigilant about other people's emotions, while completely disconnected from your own. You develop an almost supernatural ability to anticipate what others need, while losing touch with what you need. But here's where it gets really insidious. Society rewards this behavior, especially in certain people. We're told that being nice is a virtue, that putting others first is noble, that causing any discomfort makes you selfish. The culture actively encourages you to suppress your authentic self in favor of a more agreeable version. The more you hide your true self, the more external validation you need to feel okay. Since nobody knows the real you, all the love and appreciation you receive feels hollow because it's directed at a performance, not a person. This leaves you constantly hungry for connection, while simultaneously terrified of being truly seen. The psychological toll of maintaining this facade is enormous. You start to experience what feels like a split personality. There's the nice version you show the world, and there's the real you that's growing increasingly frustrated, resentful, and exhausted underneath. You begin to feel like you're living someone else's life, making decisions based on what the nice version would do, rather than what you actually want. Anger becomes your biggest enemy because nice people aren't supposed to feel angry. So when someone takes advantage of your kindness, when they assume you'll always be available, when they dismiss your needs because you never express them clearly, you swallow that anger. You tell yourself you're being mature, but really you're just adding another layer to an already dangerous emotional pressure cooker. The most tragic part is how this affects your relationships. You attract people who are comfortable with one-sided dynamics because you've trained them to expect nothing from you. You repel people who might actually appreciate your authentic self because you never show it to them. You end up surrounded by people who love the nice version of you while feeling completely alone because nobody knows who you really are. Your romantic relationships suffer, especially because intimacy requires vulnerability, and you've spent years perfecting the art of hiding. You might be in a relationship where your partner thinks they know you completely, but they're actually in love with the character you've been playing. The real you. With your complicated emotions, your actual preferences, your genuine opinions, remains a stranger even to the people closest to you. Meanwhile, your own needs and desires become foreign concepts. You've been so focused on managing everyone else's feelings that you've even lost touch with your own. When someone asks what you want, you genuinely don't know because you've trained yourself not to have wants that might inconvenience others. This creates a particular kind of depression that's hard to identify because from the outside, your life might look fine. You have friends, you're helpful, you're liked. But inside you feel empty because you're living a life designed around everyone else's needs and preferences. You feel like a supporting character in your own story. The breaking point often comes when you realize that despite all your niceness, despite all your self-sacrifice, despite all your attempts to make everyone happy, conflict still happens. People still get upset. Relationships still end. And you've been sacrificing yourself for nothing because you can't actually control other people's emotions or responses no matter how carefully you manage yourself. But here's what you need to understand. The very thing you were afraid will happen if you show your true self. Rejection, conflict, disapproval is already happening. People are rejecting, fighting with, and disapproving of the fake version of you. So what exactly are you protecting by hiding? The journey back to authenticity starts with a radical realization. Your real self isn't the problem. The problem is the belief that your real self is too much, too difficult, too problematic. That belief is a lie that was programmed into you often before you were old enough to question it. Your authentic thoughts and feelings aren't dangerous. Your genuine needs and preferences aren't selfish. Your natural responses to situations aren't wrong. They're just human. And humans are allowed to take up space, to have opinions, to express emotions, to ask for what they need. Starting to express your true self doesn't mean becoming cruel or inconsiderate. Real authenticity includes kindness, but it's kindness that comes from choice rather than compulsion. It's kindness that includes yourself as well as others. It's kindness that's sustainable because it's not built on self-sacrifice. The process of unlearning people-pleasing is uncomfortable because you will have to face the fear that's been driving this behavior all along. You'll have to risk disappointing people who've grown comfortable with your endless accommodation. You'll have to tolerate the anxiety that comes with not knowing how others will react to the real you. But something remarkable happens when you start showing up authentically. Yes, some people will be uncomfortable with the change. Some might even walk away. But these are people who were only interested in what you could do for them, not who you actually are. The people who matter, the people worth having in your life, will be relieved to finally meet you. They'll appreciate your honesty, your boundaries, your authentic presence. You'll discover that genuine connection was always available to you. You just had to be willing to show up as yourself to access it. Your relationships will become deeper and more satisfying because they'll be based on truth rather than performance. Your decisions will become clearer because you will be making them from your authentic values rather than from fear. Your energy will return because you'll no longer be exhausting yourself maintaining a facade. Most importantly, you'll finally feel at home in your own life. You'll look around at your circumstances and know they're genuinely yours, created by your real choices rather than by what you thought others wanted from you. The nice version of you was never the problem. The problem was believing that the nice version was all you were allowed to be. You were kind and complex. You were caring and entitled to your own needs. You were generous and allowed to have boundaries. You're loving and permitted to feel the full range of human emotions. The world doesn't need another perfect people-pleaser sacrificing themselves for others' comfort. The world needs your authentic voice, your genuine presence, your real contribution. And despite what you've been led to believe, that authentic self isn't too much, it's exactly enough. The question isn't whether you can afford to stop hiding your true self. The question is whether you can afford to keep hiding it,